see a show of hands of those of you who have heard of Medgar Evers? Medgar Evers. Okay, so I want to share a story about Medgar to you, and he was an African-American man who grew up in a violently racist and discriminatory and segregated part of the South, specifically in Jackson, Mississippi. As a young boy, he watched lynchings from the KKK right there in his hometown, okay? He did not like, obviously, that segregation, and his father would tell him, we are gonna go other places to shop that will, serve African Americans, and he ended up wanting to really make a difference in this world, and so he enlisted in the military. At 17, he went off to World War II, and he fought in the Normandy, stormed the beaches of Normandy on D-Day. And so even when he was in the military, though, he was in a segregated unit then. And so Medgar Evers fought racial discrimination his entire life. When he came out of the military, he wanted to still make change. And so he was one of the fiercest civil rights leaders of his time. That is a quote from Martin Luther King about Medgar Evers. He had 3 children and a wife, a young family, and he was working in Jackson, Mississippi when he came home late one night, and in his driveway, a cowardly sniper KKK person shot him with a rifle from hiding in the woods behind his house. He died right outside of his house in front of his family, his wife, and his children. And it was specifically because he was enemy number 1 because of the work that he was doing for civil rights. And so when we talk about, people will say, why do we have a Black History Month, right? This is the reason why, because none of us knew who Medgar Evers was, but he was an American hero. And he deserves us to remember. All of the monuments and memorials that we visited this week here in DC, less than 10% are attributed to African Americans. And he fought his entire life for our freedoms, okay? I want to read you part of John F. Kennedy's speech. On June 12, 1963, JFK gave what is now titled his landmark civil rights speech. And I want to read a part of that to you. Medgar was killed that night in his driveway right after this speech was televised. So I want to read a piece of it for you. The heart of the question is whether all Americans are to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities. Whether we are going to treat our fellow Americans as we want to be treated. If an American, because of his skin is dark, cannot eat lunch in a restaurant open to the public, if he cannot send his children to the best public school available, if he cannot vote for public officials who will represent him, if, in short, he cannot enjoy the full and free life which all of us want, then who among us would be content to have his color of his skin changed and stand in his place? 100 years of delay have passed since President Lincoln freed the slaves, yet their heirs, our grandsons, are not fully free. They are not yet freed from the bonds of injustice. They are not yet freed from social and economic oppression. And this nation, for all its hopes and all its boasts, will not be fully free until all of its citizens are free. We preach freedom around the world, and we mean it. Now the time has come for this nation to fulfill its promise. Evers once said, I love my children and I love my wife with all my heart, and I would die gladly if that would make a better life for them. And that's exactly what happened. Medgar Evers was an American hero, and none of us knew of him before today. So I want you guys, as we're going through these memorials, Arlington Cemetery is filled with heroes that deserve that honor, and especially Medgar Evers. So if you guys want to come up and take a picture of his headstone, you may. But I want